programs. They're kind of tied together. I was in a barber shop or something reading a magazine and found an article on the Geni site, which sounded really good because it sounded like it was very well connected to a lot of other people who were doing it, and it was free, which is always nice. So I went home and I looked up the Geni and kind of got on it and started using it for the free portion. And it is a pay site. Both these are pay sites. They both have a certain amount that you can do for free, but it limits how much information you can have on there. It's an annual subscription to it, and you pay a full year, even though it lists it out as what it costs per month. But once you do that, it will kick you up to like unlimited immediately as far as how much you have and how much you can do as far as the research connections and stuff. So I'll go over. I signed up for the Geni, and then it is integrated, is how they call it, but it's tied into the MyHeritage, and they both go hand in hand. A lot of it's fairly redundant. And once I really got going, I have found that the MyHeritage is a little bit more of my favorite. It has a few more bells and whistles on it, I kind of think, and it's much easier for me to communicate with people who are also functioning with it and my family members. So I'll go through the Geni first, and then we'll kind of kick over to the MyHeritage. This is the home site. It will recognize who you are. It will tell you over here kind of activities that have happened, revisions. You can click on here and it will tell you all the revisions that have been made by you or someone else who you've given access to. It's taking a while on that. And it dates them and who did it and when and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be slow. While we're looking over here, it also tells you that there's messages that you can have that they've sent to their site, and it talks about issues that you can have. Obviously, I have let it drop recently back down to the basic package. I used to be one of the pro, but here it tells you who was updated and when they did it and things like that, and then you have an option to just click on it and view and see what they've kind of done to kind of trace it. And it goes back quite a ways. So over here on the right side again, kind of a notification and emergency thing. Obviously a chance to upgrade things. Over here it talks about what they call matches. And as we get into the actual tree itself, you'll see there's several types of matches that you can use to key off and connect with other people and check on stuff. It gives me kind of a stat over here about the completeness of my tree. It gives you a chance to invite the relatives that are on there so that they can connect with you and look at it and help do information and changes. And then you can just enter in emails down here for who they are, and it sends an invitation to them. Email-wise, say hey, and then it makes it easy for them to just click on and join. Out of the people that I have tagged, about 50% of them have responded. Down here, there's statistics. It kind of tells your family tree, your blood relatives, ancestors, and descendants. This is for me, and Andrea is my wife. It kind of says how many people that it has connections through with that. And then at the bottom down here, it tells you who's actually been recently online actually doing some of the stuff like that. So, and it tells you a lot of times when you put over any of these pictures or their names, it will tell you who they are, the son, the husband, and how they are connected. So it's fairly good about keeping you, telling you where you are in relation. So, recent activity. Activity. This is the main one that first comes up. It's your activity sheet. It'll tell you Michael Marsh Cannon turned 69 today. On Monday, some of the other things, there's some merges. There's Christopher turned 34, my stepson, about a week ago. And so it kind of tells you that things are coming up. It talks about when other connections have been made with other family members. So, and it goes back about a month. You can actually extend it more if you want. So that's just the home page. There's a lot of kind of brief information on there to get you started. Let's kick over to the tree itself. Okay, so here's the tree, my tree, and you can use a slider bar here and we kind of move out. It goes quite a ways out. So, I mean, obviously you can't see, but you can click into spots and key on them, and it will center you there. If you want to be closer and kind of don't mind the zooming around, there's these little arrows. You can press on them and quickly move back and forth and up and down. Or you can always just click on it and drag it like this where you want if you only want to move a little ways.
Can I stop? What
sure.
time did we start?
We've only been going a few minutes.
Okay, we're supposed to start at 1. Just
okay. So this is the tree. Obviously, it shows you can determine. Let's zoom in just a little bit more. The closer you get, a little bit more detail. So it'll have a picture. If you have a picture that you can tie to it, it'll have the name. On some of them, I don't know if this one has. That's about as close as I can get. I think you can set it up so that it has birth and death dates on there if you want. You can see the connections here between the relatives. There are dotted lines for divorces or for partnerships that aren't current relationships. The girls are usually in pink and the boys are usually in blue, as usual. And so there's these little arrows here. It can tell me to open it. It can also, let's see. And up is add parents, usually the sides are siblings or spouse, and the bottom is add a child. So those are your options to just right from here add on to it. A lot of these will have a little number here and a little magnifying glass. These are for when you can look for what they call matches. So there's 3 types of matches on here. There are tree matches, there are record matches, and then they call them smart matches. A tree are specifically through other people's trees. The records are record matches that they found in census things that they have on record, or newspaper files, or things like that. And then the smart one is kind of a mishmash between those two, particularly with other people who are doing the Geni program. So we can click on one of these real quick. Let's see, it'll come up real quick. So this is for me, and it tells me there's a smart match for me. It's in connection with the heritage family trees, and I can click down here to view the actual full record, and it'll try and show you some areas that you can maybe possibly fill in. There's another one down here, also my family's tree. It's obviously not got as much information as the other one, but it does all of it's public versus some of these are private. So when you set up your things, you can say how private you want it to be, whether it gives out first names, or whether they have to contact you personally to get some of that information. Because some people don't want a lot of that information out. Let's see if we can. So, and what it does is, obviously, so you see up here, I have, it opens a full new tab so that you can do just that. If I'm done with it, I can click off and it takes me right back to the main one here. I have options here for editing myself, or let's see what this says. I believe I can add immediate family right there. I can move it. If I have somebody who's shown up through 2 different ways, you can resolve those duplicates and kind of merge them sometimes, or sometimes it makes you, occasionally it'll make you, I've had a few where the generation change was enough, it made me leave it in one side, but it kind of left a note saying I can go to the other place. And then I can actually fiddle with the photo and resize it. Let's go to edit. Hit edit for a single person. This kind of comes up. Here's where you set some of your privacy settings. Let's see if I can. Just a tad. spells first. Okay. So I can enter stuff in English. I can add it and do it in different languages. I mean, it had a ton of different languages. So if you have relatives who are primarily in like Polish or Japanese or stuff like that, there's options to put it also in that language so that if you're communicating with them, it's a lot easier. So here's the basics for me. It gives all my names a suffix. If I had a birth surname, on the women, you'll definitely want to put this is a lot of times their married name, and then you'll put their maiden name. This is how it's displayed. I can put nicknames in here, and then I also put in my email, gender, occupation. It gives a lot of different stuff. My birth order, things like that. I can add, there's a lot of little sections you can add different things. If I go to relationships, it can also tell you on the relationship side, parents, wives, and that kind of info, where and when. And you can set your own orders for these. Usually it naturally does it, but occasionally I've seen it have a hiccup. So you can say they were married here first to them and then to the other person. You can set, what's nice is adoptive and foster, so there's some options there if they're not biological. I haven't always seen that on all the other sites, so it's kind of nice to be able to say that. Also, I can put it here as far as divorced, wife, partner, because they were never married, things like that. So it's nice to be able to kind of have that, just one of those bells and whistles that I've liked, because I've seen a lot of people in my family where they weren't necessarily married, and I want to be accurate, so I can just say they were partnered. It tells me also down here how I'm connected in the tree. I'm connected to my parents. I'm connected to 2 other people. So let's see. Go back to basics. And I think that that's it. So we can cancel that. Okay, that's from the edit right there. A lot of times, let's see if I click directly on me, whether I get a different screen on this. That will be, yeah. So it's a little bigger. It gives all the stuff. It tells my immediate family here. It tells me when I was added, when I joined, if I joined the group to talk. It tells my matches over here. It gives me an option to go back to the tree. I can edit the profile or the privacy from here. And down here, here's the pictures and the people for the immediate family. A little bit of the stats and stuff. And what's nice is I can look over here as far as revisions and different kind of things on there, who is on it, fiddling with it, some media if you have videos and stuff, and pictures, you can add those in there. Let's see what timeline. Yeah, and the timeline, it tells kind of things that happen in my life in particular, so I can add and do those. I can decide, do I want it to show weddings, do I want it to show education, all that kind of stuff. I can also change the range up here to say, well, I really only want to see the last decade or so. Let's see what happened then. Then it just kind of makes it concise. So you can kind of show different areas, especially if you're printing off to do things or narrowing things down. So, and I can add new events here, things like that. I can also list where sources are coming from here. Here's U.S. Public Records. Then there's also, you can create sources on one, add source. Say it was a personal, we had a interview with the actual person themselves, or you can add different sources that you have found. So let's go back to tree. That's when you click on a certain person. Let's get that out of the way. All right, on some of these other ones, you will see this little green tree. At first I thought it was a cloud, but it's actually a tree, which makes sense. This is to click over to somebody who we can't fit in here. So if I wanted to go on my wife's side and look at here, I would click on that, and it centers her and makes her the primary person. And then you can see here the different people from her tree. Here I am off on my side, but then here's her family. Obviously all this side from Poland, and then this side over here which is the Native American side, which we've done a lot of work on that. Obviously, they have very huge families, and there was a lot of interconnectivity, which has been a challenge. But it's kind of nice. It's fairly quick and easy to switch back and forth between them. On these, it tells you deceased, but it doesn't really denote it any other way than that. Let's see. Let's go back to my side. 420. It tells you how many people on that little tree you'll be looking at. So my side has about 420. Hers has about 181 on that side. So let's zoom back out a little bit, and let's move over here. Let's see. It's thinking. A lot of processing. See if it'll show. Okay, so that's kind of the tree section on that. Now you can look over here for research. It has a lot of different things. There's discussions you can start, so just like a chat room for the website itself. There is projects that you can start, which I have not done any projects, but there are several various different ones, and I think that there were some YouTube videos that you can probably look that people have ideas for to do on that. You can documents. Let's see. I think it's when you scan. Yeah, you can scan and add different documentations of your own. The bottom ones down here are kind of fun. You can look for surnames, most popular names. Obviously, Smith's very big. So if you have any of those, you can search for certain ones itself. Try and look through their database. There's also popular profiles, which they have Geronimo, who's big. Donald Trump's big right now, obviously. So Frank Lloyd Wright, Hillary Clinton. For some reason, a lot of people are looking up Bridget Bishop, one of the Salem witches. This is just kind of fun to glance at once in a while and just check out what other people are kind of doing through their database. You can also do specific searches for, if you have more information you have on a certain person, we'll dial in for that person. And then there's the DNA test, which if some people have done, I have not done that. They do have connections to some of them. Obviously, it comes at a fee, and it gives you several different options, anywhere from $99 to evidently $529 now. It used to be a little bit less than that. So that's their connection to whatever they do for DNA, and I don't know if it's the most common one. It's whatever they've kind of done. So there's a lot of different options for your research. If you look on here for family, this is where I do a lot of fun stuff that I like people to look at. And you hit on lists. And what this does is the list should come up for everybody that's in your section. Come on. Let's see. There we go. So here's photos. And I've got an album with 24, and Jody's added 9 on hers. So I can click on there and I can see all the photos that I have tagged into here that I keep. Most of these that I have are profiles. I've started getting a good collection of headstones that have dates and stuff on them, so we can kind of tag them in. Let's see. What else do we have here? You can add videos. If you've taken videos at different events for the family, we have reunions quite often. So a lot of times they'll have one night they do a talent show, so you can always catch videos of people there and stuff that we could download on here to keep so that people can access. They have a calendar, which is kind of nice. Let's see, flip over here. There we go. The calendar will tell us all the birthdays and anniversaries for this month and the next. So and it also gives you an option, if you're in connection with them, it automatically sends them a birthday greeting. Hey, happy birthday! Which is kind of nice. So, and it tells you their age for each of them. Let's see if give me the list. Let's see if I do it. There we go. Okay, so the list is one of the bigger ones I always kind of use. I have 800 people in here in the database. It has the picture and the name and where they're at. And then it also tells you your relationship, who manages that section. And it tells you their immediate family. You can also access the tree from here and edit from here. So it makes it kind of handy. And usually it's done by, I think, closeness to you. Obviously, you can see my mother, father, brother. As it gets further away, you can kind of see it's further away, relative blood-wise. Let's see. Family. Timeline. It has an option for a timeline. It tells the family timeline. Again, it's just like the one in your personal for each person. But it tells everybody that you got. You can set the range here. This was set at 858 to 2008. I can set it to just my immediate family. I can set it to just my descendants. There's options for that over here. Again, I can choose the different type of events that are listed on here. Deaths, weddings, education, when people start school, start jobs and things like that. And it kind of tells you just a brief timeline of who, when, and where. It has a map. It should come up. And I believe the map tells you where people are versus where they were born. So you can zoom in on it, and you can see where the people who are you have current addresses for. I believe, let's see. The red is living relatives. The star is you, which I'm hidden in a whole bunch up there. The darker ones are deceased relatives, and then green ones are in-laws. So you can see I have some living in Wyoming, West Virginia, and Texas right now is where most of them are. And then there's a few up here. So you can set that for where they currently are, and I believe, yep, over here you can say place of birth. And it will switch over to where people were born. And usually I should have much more of a significant shift to that side. And it's just going to do repopulating. That's a little more even. I have a couple in Japan, a couple from Hawaii, and a few in Europe there. So, and I believe, let's see if we zoom in. Let's try Hawaii. I think if you click on the pin, it'll tell you who they are. So I just had a little cousin that was just born there a few months ago. So it'll tell you who it is next. All right. Last name's index. This tells you an index of all the last names, and then how many people you have listed in there under there. Cammon is one of the bigger groups. I click on that and it'll bring up all the Cammons in a list. And you can see there's a lot of one-offs from out marriages. Hammock is my mother's maiden name. There's quite a few there. LaChance is one of the bigger names from my wife on the Indian side, from Grand Ron. So that's kind of nice because you can just narrow down to just the last names and search by that. And let's see. There's a free family tree chart that you can ask for. You set the parameters for how many generations. I think it goes up to like 3 on each side. And then you can set how the little frame is on the pictures. But it prints out a nice little regular family tree, usually a bow tie type for this one that you do. They formulate it, and then they send you an email with it once it's done. You can also share your tree. You click on that, and it gives you options to share with the family who are also already on the list. You can send out an updated version of it. You can link it to down here. You can embed it in like Facebook or things like that. this one you can URL it to a different place, and then the last one is of course a GEDCOM export. If you want to take out of the stuff you've done here and put it into a different program, GEDCOM seems to be the most common way to get most of that done between the different programs.
Did it also allow you to import?
Yes, 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 it will. I will try and show you where that is. Let's see. No, I think it's on the ones itself. We'll look at this one last thing real quick before we try and make that. Statistics. This has kind of a nice little group for statistics. Thinking, there we go. Statistics, it talks about the age distribution even right now. It's looking at 207 of them. Tells me who's lived the longest there. It tells me the average expectancy. Here's the oldest and youngest right now living. And then down here it kind of breaks it down to married versus single, how many children there usually are in the family, the birth month, the most common one, and then it talks about gender distribution, obviously, and then down here you can put country of birth. I haven't filled in a lot of these for ethnicity, religion, political views, languages, all that stuff that you can use to kind of fill in and color up the basics for your relatives and ancestors. It'll calculate all that and put it in there. The other nice one down here is again most common first names, most common last names, and again it's one of those where the larger the font size, the more common it is. So obviously Cameron and Dutton are the most common that I have in there. Part of that is because that's probably the sections that I've done the most work on. There is several published books and stuff that I had a lot of great information that was easily accessible. So that will change over time as you do more and more research on that. And again, over here, most common first names, Mary and John, fairly common. And it tells you down here how many members it has with that. I may not have a last name for someone way back there, but I do have the first name. We just know that her mom's name was Mary, but we don't know what her maiden or that is. So you'll see a little variation. Here's 880, here's 692, here's 371 because only that many had children. A bunch of them don't. But it does give you the statistics for all that. And I can choose between my family, blood relatives, or just ancestors on that. So it gives you a little bit of opportunity to refine that. So let's go back here. I think let's click on me again. Usually actions. And I'm trying to remember. There is somewhere on here. I haven't imported a GEDCOM in a while.
Most of the programs are up in file.
Yeah.
And import.
Let's see.
Import and export.
Yeah, there it is right there. Nope.
Yeah.
Whoops.
On the phone.
That's fine. I'm still on.
Yeah, import, export.
Import, export right there. So some of them, I think my heritage has it inside the program real easy and very specifically says import GEDCOM right to it. So it's specifically for that. Down here along the bottom, you can have a spot where you can choose to go to. And you can click on here for preferences. I can do the tree layout with a standard kind of side by side. You can do it with photos only or names only. I can also do it vertical, which is a little different. It has all the different things you need for layouts. I can decide how much it shows on here. Maybe on the ancestors, I only want to go back 3 generations at a time. I can put this down like that and it'll get rid of all that extra. And descendants, I can just say, hey, I only want to have a couple. And so you can see it's clicking, it's going, okay, I'm only going to show X amount. And as far as navigation, here it shows a great big one, an overview of the tree, and you can click over here, and it puts up a little screen that I can move around, and it's going to show you. It's very light right there, but it'll show you what's going to be on the screen. Like over here, I can say, hey, I want to look it over at this section, or who's down here. I want to work on that family there. Obviously, a lot of divorce there. So that is pretty much a good overview of the Geni site. I want to click over now to my heritage. A lot of this is going to look a little bit, quite a bit of it's the same. I found it to be a little more user friendly, and like I said, it has a few more quirks on it that I really like using. I have been fairly good about doubling up. When I do it in one, I kind of do it in the other, so I'll have two screens going at once. It's kind of a backup. I've recently, after the last year and a half, let Geni kind of fall to just kind of be information. If I feel that I'm getting far enough behind, I may re-up my thing with them and let them reconnect, and it'll kind of refresh things. This is my heritage. It has kind of the same setup. Oops. There. Over here, I can invite people, I can view the tree, I can add photos. There's a slideshow from the photos you do have. I can look at the timeline in the book and print my thing. DNA tests. This is all kinds of the same stuff that we saw in the other one. It gives you a little bit of thing. I can change this and put my own description of what it's for. And then I have options down here to go to stats, photos, or the tree. And let's see down here. This one you can see I've used a little bit more. I'm about 87% complete on it. It will set up a unique URL for yourself, so you can have kind of a site people can go to. Over here I can invite people with their emails again and stuff. It talks about family news, what has happened. I published a new version of the tree from Family Tree Builder. I updated my own details here yesterday. I created a family tree chart and things like that, so it gives a little bit of history of the revision and stuff. Again, we had some stuff. You can see the connection between the people a lot of times. It was a birthday for my cousin, and my dad sent a thing for them. Happy birthday from the snow in Oregon. Alright, so for this one, let's see. Move over here. Okay, and this also has a thing for upcoming events. My dad will turn 71 in June. My aunt will turn 63. Let's see, there's an anniversary coming up. And right here I can even add which uncle or anything like that onto it. So there we go. Okay, so here we go. You can see family events. This one's nice. It has a little thing to note whether it was a birthday or whether it's an anniversary. It has both, all the pictures and stuff like that. This one, you can search for an event in particular by person or what it is, and you can do it by the month, the year. You can choose between all events or close family. Let's see. You can invite family. Again, that's a spot. Site members. This tells all the people that there's 26 of them who have responded to me via email through the invitation here, so that they follow exactly what's going on, or they have the opportunity to kind of add or at least tell me which things to add. And it tells you when they were invited, and you can look at their profile, things like that. Let's see. Now, site account. It tells me how much longer I have and how many days I've gone. It tells me what my storage is. I have unlimited right now. I'm only using about 108 megabytes of it. In the different trees on this and you have options to make multiple trees for different sections, it'll tell you how many. So between, I think there's 3 or 4 trees I have. There's just a little over 6,300 people on that. I have unlimited, so I could do as many as I wanted if I had the time. And it tells you which things are engaged. I have priority support. I did auto tags things, and it has enhanced smart matching. It actively goes out and looks even if I'm not on the computer looking for stuff. So when I come back, it says, "Hey, somebody else was doing something, and this tag thing came up and it matched. So you might want to look at it." You can set your preferences. You can set your privacy. A lot of different things from there. What's nice about this is, let's see if it'll come up. I can allow people to find and view. I can show my real name and all that kind of stuff. I can set a lot of different parameters so that if you don't want people's ages shown, if you don't want people to be able to see certain names or things like that, you can do all that on there. Let's see. Access. I can allow guests to find it. I can allow them to request, and it sends me, and I can allow them to invite others. I can also set whether they can actually change things on some of these trees. I've left one that's just wide open for people to kind of fluctuate on. Oh yeah, I know what that is. I'll add it in so that I don't have to contact them. And then I have one that no one is able to do any changes on except for me. So I can use the first one to kind of go delve into and say, are there differences there? What do I need to be looking into? I like having the tight control because I've seen people who can't remember. I saw 2 kids who both couldn't agree on when their mom's birthday was, which was difficult. So if I go and I look it up, I put it in, I know that's what it is, and I have my own sources for that, and I don't have to endure the argument between the 2 of them about who's right or wrong. So there's a lot of different things you can do on that. Let's see. Family statistics. Again, this one has the statistics section. Really enjoyed this one a little bit better. It's a little more in-depth and has a lot of different options. It takes a minute for it to come up. It should come up. I don't want all family trees. I just want Singleton family tree. Okay, so here we go. So this is kind of an overview one. Again, it tells me how many male, female, and unknown. If you're like anyone else, sometimes I know somebody had a kid, but I don't know whether it was a boy or a girl. I may not find out for 6 months down the line. But I know that someone's there, so it gives you that choice. Deceased versus living. Obviously, your relationship status is here. Widow, divorces, and it gives you the actual number, and then it gives you the percentage. The common last names. This one's a little bit better. There's more variation between the big and the really small. And then it also breaks up between male and female. And then let's see. The next one is places. Again, it tells you over here places of birth and where, and the percentages on that, which is kind of fun. I can narrow it down to certain sections, and it'll get a little bit bigger to show you. It also shows places of death on that, and then places of residence. So it breaks it down fairly good into different options on that. Ages. All right, so this tells me the age distribution right now of living members there. So I can tell who's, it's by decade. And then over here it tells me oldest living and youngest living. This one needs to be changed. I can mark as deceased and change it. I know that she's not 115. But it gives you those kind of things. And then back here it tells you the average life expectancy for people. And then it actually gives you how many people lived only to be that age, lived to be between that decade, and it breaks it down between male and female again. Lived the most and lived the least. It gives you the dates and all that. You can click on any of these at any time to look at the profile or the family tree. And what's nice is this one again is very big about giving you the relationship tree, the relationship chain. It's my mother-in-law's great aunt's stepdaughter. So I don't have to remember all those. And also in a lot of these will give you the top 10. So you can look at let's look at the list right now. So these are the top 10 youngest that I have. 5 males, 5 females. There's my stepson's daughter, and it goes backwards. Our youngest was 15 months ago. So let's see. Births. Again, this one tells you the different months, how many people were born in January, how many people were born in June, and the percentage, zodiac signs for those of you who like astrology. And then it also gives me, for my tree, the different years. So I can break it down by decade on how many people were born in that decade. Yeah, marriages. It tells us here the average number of marriages for people, and again the statistics on that. It tells you, it tells you who's been married the most. For some people who have had many marriages, and then it tells you each of the ones in order. It tells you when people were married, and then it tells you the oldest and youngest for people who got married. It'll also tell you the average ages, how long marriages are lasting in your family on average, who wins for the longest and who wins for the shortest. Of course, it also again gives you the top numbers, and then interestingly enough, age difference between people, which I don't know it's such a big deal, but it tells you all those in there. So, and again, top 3, I think I made the top 3 on that one. Children, number of children per family. The family with the most children, the Levants had 14 between the 2 of them. And then differently, it has people with the most children. Frank Norwest was married several times. He ended up having 19 children. And then it lists all of them. It gives you the top 3s again. It also tells you the oldest. This is oldest male, and the youngest when they had a child. This one is, I think we've got a wrong date here. 27 days, man. I think that may have been from marriage was in there where her birth date is. So obviously it'll also cue you and look at some of these and it'll tell you, hey, you need to go back and look at that one and see maybe you might need to do some changes in that section. The average age and how often they were when they had kids. When they're 10s, I guess that's teenagers, so that could be. Obviously one of these, 51, is incorrect because it's got to be this one at 27 days. And then the largest age difference between the oldest and youngest, and then the smallest, obviously there's been some twins or triplets, so it's same day. But this one was 29, obviously. The LaChance and she married to in the Norwest, so the father was had several kids. And then the average age difference between the oldest and the youngest in there. I fall into this section. I have a sister who's actually 19 years younger than myself, so I'm down on this end of the bell curve. And then, I think divorces, I think maybe the last one. Again, stats on the divorces, how many, who's the longest, all that kind of stuff. The shortest divorce. So that's the first section with that, stats and events. Discoveries over here. There's smart matches and record matches. Again, and Discovery Hub is kind of a connection between the two of them. And I'll show you those in just a moment. Over here, you have an option to search for photos or add photos. There's an app section. You can hook up with your mobile phone and stuff like that. And then here's a research. This gives you access to censuses, other family trees, newspapers. They have a fairly good section of stuff. If you know the general area, say I want to look in the Argus Observer, which is a paper that is over in Ontario, Oregon, where I kind of grew up. I could look up stuff and it would look in through their archives that they have for there. New York Times or whatever you want, you can kind of dictate. That helps if you know which section you're kind of looking for. So let's see, let's click on census. So you can put the name in that and the birth, and then it would do the searching for you and say, hey, I found it in the 1860 census, I found it in the 1880 census, and I found, and that's all they have on record, maybe, I don't know. Or they found in voter registration stuff from 1920. Again, the more you can put in here, the place and stuff, the quicker and easier it is for it to find it. Let's see. Let's go back. So there's a lot of different options in there for to do some searching. Let's see. Family tree. Okay, so here under family tree on this one, you can look down here. Here's your import GEDCOM right here on this one. It's very easy to find. That's kind of nice. You can run a backup through their backup service for what you have. You can print off charts and books. You can manage your trees, your sources. You can look up a relationship report if you know you and someone else. You're like, I think I'm related to so-and-so. How is it? You type in both the names and it gives you that tree to show you, or that chain to show you how you're related. And then here is the... This is a list of the people. And you can sort by many different things: last name, first name, birth dates, death dates, gender, which family tree. Let's make sure I am still in. I'm in all. Let's click to Singleton. Find it a little bit. There we go, 944. It gives you who they are. It tells you what relationship they are to you, the birth, the death. This is a good little list, and then you can show in the tree where they're at. Again, you pick a name and a target and name. Let's see. And it will, as you do, it will fill you into your options. So there's Lester Hammett, my great-grandfather. There's another one in a different tree. That's a different export blood tree. That's a different section. Joanna Lester, Andrew Lester. All these are in the export tree, which is the one I've left open for everyone. So I have no clue on those. The ones that I do that say Singleton family tree are ones that I know. And so let's click on him. And it'll display the relationship. Oh.
You know, put somebody in there.
Oh, pick me. So it'll say, hey, this is Lester. It'll show he's the father of Wallace, who is the father of Geni, who is the mother of me. And it gives all the information in between. So it shows the kind of the chain between how to get there, which is kind of nice when I've been talking with other members of my family. All right. Let's see. There are sources, names, let's look at this real quick. and then we can go to the tree itself, and then I'll be done. You can select on this one several different types. There's obviously bow tie. You can choose just your ancestors like that. You can do an hourglass one. There's a new one that's called a sun chart like that. You can do a fan. You can do all in ones. You can do the sun charts just for descendants. Let's see, there's an option for that. You can also make a family book. You customize it with the main person and the spouse, and the title and all things like that, and then you preview the chart. And these are the ones that I have actually printed out. It will print out some of them, and so that you'll have to tape them together or make your own if you don't have it big enough, or it will, if it's small enough, it will do like the bow ties and some of that on a regular sheet. So those have been handy when I've gone to reunions and stuff to hand out sections for people for their family if they want to make notations and hand them back in. Let's see. Alright, let's go to people. And let's go to the tree. Okay, so this is you. That's me. Over here, show the tree. There we go. So here's the tree. On this one, I can open the navigation. Again, it has the small pane. I can move around like that to see where we're at. And close that up. Oop, where did it go? Oops. Ah. Close. All right. Here we go. So on this one, it's a little bit different. I think it's a little bit easier to see. If there's birthdays, hey, they got balloons on them. You know that's coming up. They have rings on them. You know that that's anniversary is coming up. If they are deceased or passed away, they have a black band right on them from the get-go, so you can tell right away that is. Now, they also have these little sprouts out from them. That means you can click on it, and it'll click to view that family branch instead of a tree. You get this little kind of Y with the man and the woman on it, like that. Here on the side, it will tell you this is records matches, is the little brown one. View historical records that match this person, and on it also has a green, which is what they call smart matches, which is a lot of times matching up with other people's trees or information like that. And let's see. Let's click on Geni. Come on. There we go. Okay, so this is the smart matches for Geni. Diane Singleton, born Hammock, that's my mother. And it tells down here, this is how it looks in my family tree. On the side over here, it shows comparison. So they don't have a picture, but this is what's different. It'll tell you the differences. For some reason, they have her down with her birthday, October 5th. I can personally guarantee I know her birthday is October 21st. Her October 5th is actually her anniversary. So I can tell the differences, and I can say, I don't want that. It tells whether they're alive. They didn't put in the middle name. So it also tells you how much it matches. 80% of what they have in their fill out matches with mine. And a lot of times on these, it tells you comment, confirm, who's confirmed it, and things like that. Besides the differences on that, this will automatically start changing them. You can click on it and say, I don't want that to move over. I do want that to move over because that is correct. That's something I didn't have before. So it automatically starts filling that in so you don't have to do a lot of it. I confirmed the match back then, and it shows you the difference right here. I like that. So you can see that mine has a little more information on it. Mine has the date for my father, it has middle names and stuff like that. So you can see the comparisons, and you can pick and choose what you want to accept or not. Let's go back to Geni. Thinking about the tree. Okay, again on this one, if I click down here, I can add relatives. It'll allow me, it'll give options for mother, father, siblings, spouses, and such. I can click on this little thing here to do a quick edit. And on this one, what's kind of nice is first and middle, maiden, married, prefix, suffix, all that. Tell us whether they're living, whether I've invited them, their email address, and their relationship. That is for a quick edit. If you put over a name like that, you can do an actual, there's profile. Other sites that I'm with, info events, so I can add additional names down here. I have religious names, former names. If I've changed my name, which has been kind of nice, I have several immigrants in my family, my wife's family side, that have changed and anglicized their names. So especially if you're going from Polish to English, and it will recognize those across. So it will recognize it as Zieslaw, and it'll also recognize it as Chester, which was what his name was when he moved here, which has been very handy. You can also put if they're named after someone else, different nicknames and things like that. Obviously, that's for that section. Let's go here. Okay, save and continue. Each time you leave it, if you want to change it all, you have to save and continue. Here we go. It talks about my family is the next section. It tells you your parents, again, whether you are adopted or a foster child. It talks about your wife and marriages or your partnerships. Section on this is about me. I can do a free form, anything I want in there as a part of a biography on that for things of note. The next section, contact info. So I can put in there the address where I'm at, or previous addresses. So I can see where we moved to, how long we've lived in each of those sections. Again, the one, let's see, this is my current address so that they know that where I'm at now. Email, I can put in phone, faxes. Again, this is all covered by privacy, so I can make it available to those who want, I want to have access so they can get hold of me or not. The next one is work. You can tell where people were. I work in the hospital, so I put healthcare supply specialist, and I filled in quite a bit of that. I haven't filled in to present or any of that. So if you know that people were farmers or bakers, or cobblers, or whatever they do, you can, again, this is part of the stuff filling in besides just having a name and a date. there's a lot more information that kind of is interesting to have. You can fill in education. There's favorites, which is things you like to do, TV shows, all kinds of stuff like that. Then it goes to personal info for each one, nationalities, languages spoken, descriptions like that. You can actually do some free-form physical description like that. And then you can also put in your sources for each one. Here you can see I've cited some of the text that I had from my Geni source. And I can also put the URL so we can do it, and the confidence of where, which is direct and primary, through you've heard through other people, and I did not put the date on it, unfortunately. But you can add other sources on that and that kind of stuff. So there's 34 sources I have access to on this one that we could look at. So that's kind of nice, so you can back up where you heard that from, or where you can go to look to see that actual source. And then all my facts is just a overview of all of these above. So, is there any? I don't know how much more I have. Is there specific questions? The reason I like these is particularly is because here's the different trees are. This one only has 2 in it. This is the one I worked in most, which is 944. And this one, like I said, is an export one. I exported originally for my bloodline, but did not realize how to get the privacy settings set quick enough. So there was a lot of people and a lot of activity, and like I said, it ballooned to a bunch of people that I hadn't necessarily confirmed. So I've left that one open as kind of a pool to jump into and say, oh, I want to look in this section. Well, there's a bunch of people who think that this is something that might be, and so then I can allow myself to go in and look at it, and then when I confirm it, I import it or type in whatever I want out of it into the one that I have a tighter control of. So, is there any questions about stuff? I know it's a lot of information.